Happy Devils Wednesday. This is the State of the Fan Address presented by pucksandpitchforks.com. I'm your host, Sam Wu, here with the editor-in-chief, Nick Villano, as we're streaming live on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, X Live, Twitch, and now on Instagram Live on the Let's Go Devils Network, coming to you live from the Primetime Radio Studios bunkers, both North and South Jersey, covering the Garden State, talking a little Devils hockey. Yes, the off-season continues as we're about 40-something days away from the regular season. Things are starting to take shape. Still a lot of social media drama going on still as fans are killing each other and all that jazz. How are you, Nick?
I'm good. Listen, you're causing a lot of this drama. Let's call a spade.
Yeah, well, you know, it's funny.
You're not like you used to be, like sprinkling salt on the wound. Like you're taking machetes to the wound.
You know what? The honest truth is, people think I'm online all day, and I'll tell you, I just say my piece and set it and forget it, and then I come back like 4 hours later, and there's like people killing each other.
Yeah, I do the same thing, and I'll go back and I'll respond to as much as I can. Like sometimes, I do it when I have like a spare 5 minutes. It's not that often. Like, I'm busy during the day. I got a job. I got 2 jobs, and I got So I it's that moment when you're watching the kids and you just pull out your phone, that's what I'm doing. It's like, all right, like they're playing with something. Let me see what's going on. It's like, oh, I said something that angered a lot of people. Yeah. So that's how you get in trouble. But I don't know, man. I think you're being a little purposeful with your. I saw something you put out there today or yesterday. I can't remember, but I almost went in there and said, "Oh, so you're doing content now?" just to see what you would say. Some of it, Sam. Some of this is content. Let's just.
What? Now, everybody who's seen, those that don't know, there are a couple pictures out there of Quinn and Jack, and there's one with them with their hockey bags. I don't know if they're at the airport, and a Minnesota Wild fan took a picture between Jack and Quinn, and it circulated, and there was all this banter. But the hockey gods, I mean, who wears a white blank shirt? A blank white shirt. And it was
more
just...
bad than you think.
Well, it was, as a Photoshopper over the years, it's sometimes difficult to Photoshop because if you don't have the right camera angle or the right pose... But
color
that
match can be hard if it's on a black or a purple or something like that.
Yeah, but this one, a white shirt, perfect angle. It literally took me 2 minutes. It took me longer.
He was carrying a Devil's bag.
Yeah, and it was longer to boot up my laptop than it was to actually Photoshop a Devils logo in the middle of Quinn Hughes' white shirt that he was wearing in that photo. So it was great.
It's great.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this. The Devil's bag thing's weird. I think it's Luke Hughes' bag, which can I be honest, I'm a little worried then. If it's August 19th and Luke Hughes can't carry a bag yet, a little worried.
I'm not.
A little bit.
I'm not.
If you knew it was Luke Hughes' bag and he couldn't carry it right now, would you be worried?
Well, you have to understand the younger generation, and I've been saying this all along. These young kids now, they don't carry their own freaking bags, and I think even as adults, they don't even carry their own freaking bags.
His brother, who's the biggest superstar, biggest defensive superstar in the world, is carrying. I don't think that's the It's not like
I don't know. There's
their bag person's
what commercial is it? Is it Jack Therapy commercial that we see on MSG? It's like the mom taking the kid to practice and the mom carrying around the bag and putting it in. It's like, what are you teaching these kids? I used to drag around my bag all over the place, stick included. Anyway.
Yeah, I was 5 years old. I mean, I make my 3-year-old son carry his bag.
Good. You're a good parent.
And I'll carry it up the stairs. It's not dangerous, but like when we get out of the car, I put his backpack on his back, and he walks his happy behind to the stairs. You know what I mean? Like you gotta teach him that you're not gonna handhold them. But again, these are a different class because these are athletic superstars, right? These are guys who have been, I don't want to say coddled, because I think the Hughes family is an interesting type when it comes to this, where I think that they were taught a lot of different, they were being media trained since they were 12 years old. They definitely have a much better head on their shoulders than some superstars that we've seen coming in the league. But at the same time, if you're Quinn Hughes, like you gotta know what that looks like, right? Like I
don't think he cares.
You've been with Jack. If he doesn't care, that's a problem for Minnesota. Those optics, like they have to care. And here's the thing, Sam. And I'll give Minnesota credit. None of this has bothered them. Either they're putting on the front of the century, or they really just like they don't see. And like maybe this is like we've been burned so many times as Devils fans that I mean, even going back to like Bobby Holik, and I know there was some before that, but that was like that was the first time I remember being really sad about a signing. So when Bobby Holik signed with the Rangers, I think it was, what was that, 2001, 2002?
Yeah, I think around that time.
But even before then, you had the Shanahan sending an offer sheet. You had
Now, who are you saying? The Wild organization or the Wild fans?
The Wild fans.
Oh, fans.
They just don't seem bothered by this. Which again, like if I was in their shoes, I'd be like, I'm already like Sam. I am truly worried about the Jack Hughes thing. Like in my gut, I'm like, oh, it sucks.
I'm not even like.
Well, that's also why I say if I'm Sonny Meta, he's done so much this offseason to make up for the transgressions of Tom Fitzgerald. There's one move that Sonny Meta can make that could fix the biggest mistake of Tom Fitzgerald, which was allowing the Wild to even put themselves in this position. If Tom Fitzgerald trades for Quinn Hughes, Sonny Meta's the GM in Seattle or something, and Tom Fitzgerald still has a job here. And the Devils make the playoffs last year, and their outlook is that of a superstar team. I still think they have some issues just because, they'd probably still have Markstrom and probably would have signed somebody stupid. But the truth is that if you had Quinn Hughes right now, things would be golden. So what do you have to do to get Quinn Hughes? What's the thing that will push over the top that will just be too much for Minnesota to overcome? You get Quinn Hughes' best friend, which apparently is Dylan Larkin. If you have his brothers and his best friend on the same team. Now, the issue here, Sam, is that you're kind of building a clique. And that can be problematic, but I think Sonny Meta's a good enough leader that you can overcome that. And Dylan Larkin's a good player. You want a Dylan Larkin on your team, even though he just asked out of the Detroit Red Wings. And I think his contract aligns with Jack's, right?
Similar.
Both him and Jack have 4 years left?
Yeah, similar.
I think so. So you could say, bring in Dylan Larkin, 4 years, 4 years of Larkin and the Hughes brothers. And then Nico Hischier is signed, I think, 6 more years? 5 or 6 more years. I can't remember now off the top of my head. But did he sign a 4-year or a 5-year extension?
I thought he signed a 5. So he's got one this year. It's a total of 6.
Yeah. So 6 more years in Nico Hischier. You got Bratt signed for 5 more years. Meyer signed for 5 more years. So you still got that's a good foundation of players that are signed through 2030, 2031, 2032 for some of them. You could do something with that. I think that's the core of a really good playoff team. Of course, you'd want like a Jason Robertson, but Jason Robertson's going to cost maybe $6 or $7 million more than Dylan Larkin. Jason Robertson's better than Dylan Larkin, but is he $7 million per season more better than Dylan Larkin when you're a guy trying to sign off your Hughes brothers? I don't know. Of course, you want the best possible team, but you also have to think of the salary cap. You also have to think of you have to replace a lot of guys this offseason. Dylan's a free agent. Nason's a free agent. Mercer's a free agent. There's a lot of guys that are coming off the books this season that theoretically guys like Silyev and Haminaho and those guys should replace them at entry-level contracts, but you never know. You might have to replace them on the open market. You have a lot going for you, but when I look at this team, Sam, I don't think that this is a guaranteed playoff team that's currently constructed.
You're talking about the Devils.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any.
I also don't think the Wild. I don't think the Wild are either. But
I don't think there's any guarantees in life to begin with. Injuries happen.
You know what I mean? But
but injuries happen, and I think that's what it all boils down to. Are the Devils going to be healthy? Because it seems like the recurring theme every year. I think on paper right now they have 80% chance again making the playoffs. That's my estimation. Without
I have it like 50-50. Currently constructed, I have a 50-50. But I only have Minnesota as like 70-30.
I think Minnesota's worse than the New Jersey Devils. I think people have forgotten the fast start the Devils had last season and how they finished up the season last year. I think everyone has forgotten about that team. And I think the team has improved much better because who was at fault last season? Jacob Markstrom. He's a big part of it. They did not have the goaltending in there. They had the $6 million man. They had the right ideas, but Jacob Markstrom was either hurt. He was hurt in the beginning of the season. They threw him back in there cold when they were on a hot streak on that heater for no reason whatsoever. You're going to have Jacob Markstrom playing against the Colorado Avalanche after you just beaten them at home, and that just it brought everybody down with that reality check. So, and again, the other thing too with the Devils is the loser points. They didn't have those loser points that you need to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, that was the problem.
So, combine those two together, I think the Devils are not far off making the playoffs, but I think the Rangers are going to be better this year. I think the expectations are low across the river with New York. I also think the Islanders overachieved last year. And, Matthew Schaefer, is he going to have a sophomore slump or not? I don't think he would, only because
nobody's talking about this. Nobody. I'm so glad you brought this up. Can I talk about this for a second? I don't want to cut you off. I know you want to go through the teams, but
the floor is yours, Senator. Go ahead.
Everybody's talking about it as if Schaefer's just guaranteed to go up, when we've seen multiple occasions where guys start high, go low, go back high. Right? Like that second year where you start to feel your oats a little. you start to think your SHI doesn't stink. And I think Schaefer's got a great head on his shoulders. This is not saying anything against him. This is just the natural order of things for a guy who's 19, 20 years old. I think he takes a step back. And like a relative step back, like a 50 to 60 point defenseman. And then he'll be back to 80, 90 points the rest of his career. I think he's primed to be the best defenseman in the league sooner rather than later. But I'm talking about like in 3 or 4 years, not next year. I don't think he has a great skill set, but he has one that can have variance, right? Like we've seen the Zach Werenski's have variance. We've seen I'm trying to think of like a really good example. Even like Quinn Hughes has some variance in his output. Eric Carlson has variance in his output. Like those guys, they'll have 100 points one year, like Eric Carlson did, and then 60 the next. Yeah. And like you'll be like, well, he's still a 60-point defenseman. I was like, yeah, but where did those 40 points go, and how do you replace them? I don't think the Islanders have the roster to replace a step back from Matthew Schaefer. I do like Peter DeBoer, but I also don't think this is a good fit for him. Like, he likes a team that he could be demanding of because of the expectations. And I don't think that's where you're at with the Islanders. Because here's the other thing, Sam. You got the best version of Ilya Sorokin last year. He missed the playoffs.
Yeah.
He was second in Vezina trophy voting, and you missed the playoffs. A goalie's another place where there's variance. So, like, you're asking a lot of variance, and, like, you look at the forward group, there's a lot of guys who are good. Bo Horvat, Matthew Barzal, Colin Palmieri is the guy we all really like a lot. Like, there's a lot of guys you like, but, like, Palat is still on this team. Carson Soucy is still on this team. What's his name? The guy that used to be on Vancouver. It's not Horvat. Not Vancouver. He used to be J.C. Peugeot. He's not that good anymore for some reason. Like, something happened with him where he's not that good. Like, their bottom six is a bunch of names that would be a stupendous bottom six in, like, 2018. Oh, excuse me.
Bless you.
Sorry. No mute button. I apologize. I don't know. I'm not feeling the Flyers. Like, people are picking the Flyers to make the playoffs over the Devils. I'm not feeling it. I'm more worried about the Rangers. I think the Rangers got better.
I think so too. And Vladar, is he going to have an outstanding season like he did last year?
Yeah, I'm not that worried about Philly or Pittsburgh. Is that bad?
Well, Pittsburgh is very interesting. Tell me a little bit more about J.P. Campatese and the player that he was coveting for the Devils, but the Pittsburgh Penguins acquired.
Oh, listen. So Cruz Lucius was traded, his rights. So I need to set just a foundation here of the conversation because it's a little weird this year. So college free agents. College players become free agents per the NHL CBA after 4 years after they were drafted. I don't know if there's if you have to graduate. I don't think that's a part of it. I think this is 4 years after they were drafted and they've decided to leave school. So Samu Salmonen, New Jersey Devils 3rd round pick from I think 2021 or 2022, I can't remember. Spent 2 years at UConn, then went to the University of Denver, won a national championship as a top 6 center for them last season. Really, a prospect I really like, and I'd be really surprised if they didn't sign. I'm just really confused why you wouldn't sign him. There's not a ton of room for him in Utica. That's the only issue. And he's kind of a guy that his high development might be 3rd line center, but still, it's a guy you want for depth in Utica, a guy you want to be impactful. But these guys are supposed to be eligible to become free agents on August 15th, which was, 4 days ago. Most of the guys who were eligible to become free agents on August 15th did not become free agents. That's because there's a certain level of paperwork you have to fill out to become a free agent. there's a lot of different reasons why you wouldn't fill out the paperwork. Maybe you're in negotiations with the team, and there's like some bonus things you just don't work out. So you're not going to go ahead with the paperwork. You want to keep that relationship with the team intact. You want to make everybody happy. There was a judge's ruling this year that said the guys who went into college in 2022 can go back and play hockey for a year, and with NIL, they might make more money in college, especially at a college like Denver University, than they would in the AHL. So maybe that's on the table. A guy like Salmonen might go to Finland or might go play overseas and kind of get his minor leagues there, and then come to the Devils or go to wherever. I think he'd remain a free agent after that if he fills out his paperwork. But anyway, Cruz Lucius was not a free agent because he didn't fill out his paperwork, from what I understand. So the Penguins still owned his rights, even though he could have signed as a free agent at any point. He was traded to the Anaheim Ducks. But again, it's just his rights. This is essentially the Penguins trading Cruz Lucius's exclusive negotiating rights. So essentially the Penguins tried to sign him. He said no. And the Penguins sent him to Anaheim to try to negotiate there. And Pat Verbeek's going to try to sign him. Cruz Lucius is a fine prospect. He's a bottom 6 guy though, projected. So like you're not talking about like the GBVCs or the I'm trying to think of what the guy's name was. Who's the guy that was on the Devils? Oh, Alex Kerfoot. Like you're not talking about him, like even that level of player. Like you're talking about like a step below those guys coming out of college. So, again, it would have been nice. He was by far the best college free agent. It's not a great crop of college free agents this year, in my opinion. I think Salmonen is a guy that a lot of people are talking about. But, yeah, he's a guy that a lot of people circled. Didn't work out. But, again, it still might. Because here's the deal, Sam. He didn't sign with Anaheim, so he can still go become a free agent. Everybody's like, the Penguins lost him for nothing. Yeah, but like they could have lost him for nothing at any point because he could have just become a free agent. He still can. From my understanding, he still can. So, no harm, no foul. He could still become a Devil. I don't think he will. Here's the thing, Sam. I wrote about this the other day on pucksandpitchforks.com. Go read it. Check it out. The Devils don't have room. Unless they make a trade. They have too many NHL players on the roster right now. Do you know that?
Really?
They have 24 NHL players.
Including goaltenders?
Yeah.
All 3?
So they have 7 defensemen, 14 forwards, and 3 goalies. So one of 2 things is going to happen. One, a trade's going to happen. Or Sonny May is going to have a hard conversation with a guy like Stefan Nason or a guy like – I'm trying to remember if I counted Haminaho in that or not. I don't remember if I did. But, but guys like Shane LaChance, we thought Shane LaChance might make the team out of training camp last year. He doesn't have an opportunity to do that, barring an injury. We thought Mark McLaughlin was a guy who could really fight for a spot, and he got injured, and he stayed with the team for 4 months. I think he was collecting that NHL paycheck for nothing. But they have no reason to sign PTOs this year. None. No, they have no chance to make the team. Oh, and then a guy like Amadeus Lombardi, there's no chance he's going to make this team unless they trade guys, which I still think they could. I think Mercer could be traded. I think Nason could be traded. I think one of the left-hand defensemen could be traded, whether that's Dylan or Siegenthaler. I think nothing is off the table. And let's not even talk about the Quinn Hughes scenario, right? That would change everything if you trade for Quinn Hughes, because I think Mercer's going the other way. I think probably another NHL piece is going the other way in a Quinn Hughes deal. Probably one of Dylan or Siegenthaler. But you know, I think if you do trade for Dylan Larkin, you got to move money. That's the funny thing. The Devils have, what is it, $3.85 million right now. If they trade Mercer for Quinn straight up, it would be the exact cap hit that he has this season, which is obviously hilarious. But then, like, how would you trade for Dylan Larkin? You'd have to really make it. You know, you'd have to add Stefan Nason. You'd have to add one of the left-handed defensemen. You'd probably want it to be the more expensive one. So I think that's Dylan. I think Dylan makes 3.5. But still, you need to, come up with another $2.5 million there. So that, or probably like 3. I'm trying to think of who else that would be. Yeah, I don't think you want to flip Evan Rodriguez already. I think you want to keep him.
You definitely want to keep him.
What am I missing? Because, again, I don't think this deal would get done for Larkin. I think it would be a lot of prospects and futures. But, I mean, the craziest thing they could do is trade Meyer for Larkin. But I don't think that's smart.
I don't think so.
I think Meyer's not a 40-goal scorer anymore. And that stinks because you traded for him and signed him to be a 40-goal scorer. But it is what it is. Like, these things happen. He needs to be a 30-goal scorer. He can't score 24 goals. Last year was the most unacceptable Meyer year that we've seen. He has to get at least to 28, but you really need him to be 30 goals this year. He's the most unlucky player in the NHL. Him and Anders Lee were like the two most unlucky players in the NHL from a forward standpoint. It doesn't matter anymore. Like, they can't be an excuse. He has to score 30 goals. Like, it just has to happen. Nico Hischier is setting him up perfectly so often, and he's just bungling it sometimes. Sometimes, things happen. Things get caught on the end of your stick. You don't get a good shot on it. You're surprised, but whatever. He needs to be, like, they have to have the chemistry this year to where he's scoring goals. And I think you're going to get a better player than Dawson Mercer on their wing. Whether it's Arseniy Gritsik, whether it's Anthony Mantha, whether it's Connor Brown. I think any of those three would be better for them than Mercer. Because Mercer, idealistically, is good at the net front. Well, that's kind of where you kind of want Meyer there. Right, you want Meyer on the bumper, then he can kind of move towards the net. Not net front, but like in that area, like in that high danger area. So I wouldn't trade Meyer right now. But then the calculation becomes harder, right? Like, where are you going to get $3 million from? And like, it's hard to do without depleting your defense, right? Like, I guess you could do it if you traded Dylan and Kovacevic. I've been told Kovacevic isn't waiving for anybody. I think Kovacevic, I don't know, because I think his no trade clause ends after this year, so he knows he's going to lose a lot of his power. So he's holding on to that as much as he can. I don't blame him. Tom Fitzgerald gave those things out like candy, and they're going to use them. But again, you kind of look at, like, who else could it be? And I don't want to trade Connor Brown. But I guess that would be the guy. Like, you kind of have to. I don't know. I'm just talking in circles right now, Sam, and you're just letting me do it. I don't know if you would you want Dylan Larkin, knowing what you have to give up to get him?
That's a tough call. Because I think it's necessary to make a move for him, and it has nothing to do with Quinn Hughes, because Is Jack
makes a
gonna
lot of
play?
sense. Why not?
Is Jack gonna play 82 games this season? You know the value of centerman. If Larkin's on the team, does Jack move to the wing? Do they run three centermen down the middle?
Do you know what I would do?
What would you do?
I would have Larkin take faceoffs and then play wing. So Hughes is still play driver. He's the center. He just doesn't take the faceoff.
I think that's an excellent. Yeah, and and let's put it this way: if you get Dylan Larkin, I don't know how the money would work. You're getting Quinn Hughes.
Yeah. Well, the money would work easy next year.
Yeah,
it's not hard to make the money work next year. It's this year where you have to make the money work. And even if you did it at the deadline, it's easy to make it work at the deadline. It's today. Could you get Quinn Hughes and Dylan Larkin before the season? And that's where you would have to take it on the chin. Right.
But I don't think. See, here's what's interesting here. Quinn, assuming that Quinn wants to play with his brothers, and Larkin has already burnt bridges with Detroit. What exactly is their value? And I'm not questioning what it would take to get Larkin, but just let's look at it a different way. Maybe Detroit's at the point right now. Let's just move on and take the first buyer. If it's close enough, we'll take it. Maybe you don't have to give up.
No, I think then Minnesota would have been done if they were in that position. I think they're holding out hope that they're going to get something crazy.
But what room does Minnesota really have?
I just don't think they like what Minnesota has to offer.
Yeah.
Even from, I like Charlie Stramel. A lot of guys don't. A lot of prospect people don't like Charlie Stramel. I don't like Danila Yurov. So I would understand why a centerpiece around Danila Yurov. I don't think Danila Yurov ever projects as a first-line center. I'm not sure if he's a second-line center, except for a devastatingly bad depth situation like they have in Minnesota.
But Sonny's got a lot of picks to trade.
Right. I think so. What I said it would be is Mercer, Casey, 2 first-round picks.
I would do that deal. No problem.
I would do it too. I would do Mercer, Casey, and then I would give them. I would do what they did with the Meyer deal. Just overwhelm them with the larger. I think maybe you have to give them. Would you do Mercer, Gritzik on 2 first-round picks?
No, not with Gritzik. Nope.
I really like Gritzik. But
I like his personality the most, to be honest.
Yeah, but trying to think of something. I'm trying to think of something uncomfortable. Gritzik is the most uncomfortable I'm thinking of, but would you trade Mercer, Cody Glass in 2 first-round picks?
Well, yeah, I would do that if you save Casey, because you're going to need, again, I don't know. Is Casey expendable?
It all depends. If you can trade Kovacevic, I would want to keep Casey. But right now, Kovacevic, Pesci, and Hamilton are signed long-term. I think Sonny Maeda is kind of taking a wait-and-see approach there. I think a lot of people have a lot of love for Pesci. I do too. but he had a bad season last year. Like we also have to call it what it is. Brett Pesce was bad last year. I think it was because of the injury. I hope it was because of the injury. Brett Pesce, of every guy in the NHL, was on the ice for at least 500 minutes. I don't remember if this is defenseman or all skaters, but a guy, let's just say defensemen, were on the ice for at least 500 minutes. Nobody was on for fewer goals scored than Brett Pesce.
And that's another reason why the Devils didn't make the playoffs last year, was the health of Brett Pesce.
Yeah, he was important. Brett Pesce was hurt. Everybody got hurt. Simon Nemeth got hurt at a very important time, and they looked like crap around it. It was in January, I think. Gritsik got hurt at an inopportune time when they really needed offense. Who else got hurt at a really inopportune? Like the timing of the injuries were terrible. Like, you think about when Jack Hughes got hurt. Like, there's never a good time to lose your superstar for 2 months and then have him be in a cast for another month and a half. Right? There's no good time for that. But, like, it really, like, just... It was at a time where, like, you were here and, like, the roller coaster starts going down. And, like, you just can't stop the momentum. If it happens in March, like, the end of the season's right there, you could be like, we can wait this out until he comes back. If it happens before the season, you're like, let's just wade these waters. It's fine. We'll figure out how to play without Jack Hughes, and then he'll come back and save the season. What happens in, November through, or it happened what? It happened in November, right? And he came back in December, and then he was in a cast until essentially the Olympics. Looked like a shell of himself.
He came back in December? I thought he came back in January.
No, he came back to the end of December.
All right.
He came back like right after the Quinn Hughes trade. Like, I think 4 days after.
Wow.
I think it was December 22nd. I think that's the name. That's the date that stuck in my head. It was right before Christmas. So I'm trying to think. There was another injury that was. Oh, Luke Hughes. Duh. I mean, Luke Hughes had a bad season. That was part of it too. But Luke Hughes, post shoulder injury, and after the Olympic break, really good. Not what I want him to be. I look back at the numbers. I was like, I thought he was better than this, but good enough. Definitely like a more of a positive than a negative. He was doing that straight line speed that he was doing the year before, where he could A, chase down guys who were going on breakaways, and B, basically he skated through 5 guys 2 or 3 times. It's something he hadn't been doing all season, even when healthy. And it was just good to see him have that confidence back. I think you would have got that from him, whether he was injured or not, from after the Olympic break. But losing him, it was just the icing on the cake of the season, where you're just like, well, let's just pack it in, boys. But yeah, the Devils just the only teams as injured as the Devils last year, I think, were Vegas and Florida, at least for most of the season. I think the Devils had enough guys back at the end of the season when they were kind of playing for nothing that maybe a couple teams passed them. But for when the season mattered, Vegas and Florida were the only teams more injured than them. One, missed the playoffs, just blew it completely. Not blew it, but like it happens. And Vegas only made the playoffs because they were in the Pacific Division, which was terrible last year.
Yeah.
And then they went all the way to the Cup Finals, so we forget about that. But, they got healthy, and then we saw what they can be. The Devils can't afford being injured like that. They just can't. And they hired what was it? They hired a new reconditioning therapist and assistant strength coach who, according to Lose for Hughes on Twitter, I know this is bad on me, but I'm doing it anyway, calls it a specialized role focusing primarily on injured players, return to play programming, reconditioning, rehab to performance bridging, and secondary support the broader team's strength and conditioning work. Having a guy who's focusing on getting guys back at the right time and at full strength shows me that Sonny Mayo watched this team and learned a thing or two. He's hiring people to fix it. That's the big reason. We talked about playoff odds and how I'm 50-50 right now. I'm lying. I'm 50-50 on the roster, but I think I'm with you. I'm at 80% because I believe in Sonny Maeda. My issue is, this is my biggest issue, and I'm going to write about this week. Is Sheldon Keefe the guy? But that's a bullet in your chamber, right? If things aren't going well, you can fire the coach and motivate the team. You got another smart move by Sonny Maeda. That's all I got, though, Sam.
Thank you, Johnny Danks. He says, I love your videos and C-word you've been giving us. What kind of C-word? The one I'm doing on X? Anyway, time for plugs.
PucksandPitchforks.com. I did a story on Jack Hughes, and everybody's mad at him over his EA Sports rating. He got a 94. Everybody's mad about it. It's so funny. Let everybody be mad. But again, it makes sense. Luke Hughes didn't get that serviceable rating. This is a former cover boy, Luke Hughes. I thought that was interesting. I'm going to have a story on we got a story on Nolan Foote, who signed elsewhere this week or today, I think. We're going to have a story on the strength and conditioning coach that I just talked about. We're going to have a story on there's one more that I'm missing. Oh, about how Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier are the best centers in the Metropolitan Division. I said what I said. We have the two best centers in the Metropolitan Division.
So you're saying move over Crosby and move over Malkin.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Crosby and Malkin are old. I like Crosby. I think he's still like 4th or 5th. But, people are my mentions about Mika Zibanejad. Or, I think Sebastian Aho is the only guy in that conversation. But, nobody on the Flyers is in that conversation. Nobody on the Capitals is in that conversation. Nobody on Columbus is in that conversation. Nobody on Carolina besides Aho is in that conversation. Like I said, Crosby, again, you can make the argument, but I just think he's 4th or 5th at this time of his career. Mark Malkin's not in that conversation. Nobody on the Islanders is on that conversation. It's either Hischier or Aho, and then Jack Hughes is the clear number 1. This is what you got to make the playoffs with this team. This is the last year that you got all of them on really good contracts. Yeah. You got to make the playoffs this year.
All right, I'm going to check out my X account at Primetime Sam Wu. Every day is something different. And enjoy the laughs. Hopefully we didn't burn any bridges with people that are from Minnesota, but we'll ask for forgiveness later once Quinn Hughes is in New Jersey. Anyway, that's all we got. All right.
That's all we got.
All right. Well, going to be dropping the podcast in about 20 minutes. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music Prime, and Audible. And the iHeart app. As the offseason continues, go to pucksandpitchforks.com. What could happen? News can break at any time. You just never know. You never know with this Quinn Hughes saga. Just remember, keep it here. And as news breaks, we'll be live as soon as we can. Till next time, let's go Devils.